From the Free Press, Jesse Singal, BlueSky has a death threat problem. I love BlueSky so much.
It's a
yeah, because it basically is a vacuum cleaner or a garbage disposal for the violent, unhinged leftists. They all got mad at Elon and left, and now we can sit here in peace and talk like adults. But Jesse Singal writes, it was supposed to be a gentler left-wing alternative to X. My grim experience proves that just isn't the case.
Jesse Singal is one of the liberals that I have followed for many, many years. And he pretty much avoids interacting with me because it wouldn't look good to his friends. But he doesn't block me either. And I often tweet him because he sometimes has good common sense takes. And that's the beginning of your hint into what the problem is that he sometimes has common sense. He is a centrist liberal. And he absolutely has Trump derangement syndrome. He will rationalize things that are so preposterous. He's a liberal. But sometimes he can't help but notice that the emperor isn't wearing any clothes.
So he posted a couple of these from BlueSky, them basically saying they want to kill him, but they can't. There's another post where saying they want to shoot him twice. The funny thing is, there's a bunch of posts from people who, conservatives who went on BlueSky and tried posting opinions and were banned for it or throttled for it. Jesse Singal found that on this leftist, gentler free speech platform where they actually claim free speech, there's hundreds of thousands of death threats and they won't do anything about it. I almost think BlueSky was intentionally created as a catch-all for far left lunatics, so it's all on purpose.
The thing about Jesse Singal, too, just to give people a background on him, he's a journalist who writes extensively about trans issues, and that's the reason why he's getting this pushback. He's liberal in all other senses except for the trans issue, I think particularly with children going on puberty blockers. So the reason why most of the people who are threatening him are trans activists who are very frustrated with his coverage about how in Europe a lot of these different health and public health institutions are rolling back their puberty blocker plans. And the more he points this out, the more they call him transphobic. He's probably the #1 target of trans activists because of his work in this space. He will constantly review trans activists' articles about using misleading science. He'll fact check the New York Times using misleading science about trans issues. So that's why he's garnered so much hate on this platform in particular.
Yeah. And I mean, he's doing the Lord's work. Good for him for standing up about this stuff and taking the slings and arrows that he will get from the absolute loonies that would send those kind of tweets, and which tend to be, you know, the trans activists tend to be a volatile bunch.
He's liberal in every other way, and he didn't toe the line on one issue, and this is the pushback.
But it happens to be an issue that is of most interest to people who are already mentally unbalanced.
You know,
I might be giving him too much credit, but he is the premier disinfo reporter on trans issues.
Good for him.
Across the journalism space.
Good for him.
So I commend Jesse Singal. He'll probably never come on the show, but I'm sure he has an open invite.
He'll probably disavow the commendation from us, but either way, he's still doing good work, and he takes a lot of heat, and it's really it's something that's very respectable that he continues to stick to his guns. And
beyond his politics, he's willing to do journalism, and he's willing to follow where that leads him. And I think that's refreshing in an era where all of journalism is tainted so much by partisan politics.
I wouldn't even say partisan politics. I'd say by ideology.
What do we think happens with like the Antifa crowd? Because they're being isolated to places like BlueSky. They're excising themselves from the conversation. They're sitting here cheering for the alleged healthcare CEO assassin. I can't imagine they maintain any kind of mainstream appeal for much longer.
I think they've lost mainstream appeal.
Right. You look at Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, and these other liberals, Cenk Uygur now going, well, I'm a moderate populist, and I think we should give Trump a chance.
They're no longer useful.
Yeah.
They were deployed at like the SA in their time. They were meant to hit the streets and disrupt the establishment and to be the leading edge of the left wing, but in a way which structurally they could be disowned when they were no longer useful. They're not being paid anymore. By the way, A good number of them are in jail now.
I don't think they dispersed. I mean, I think they dispersed and are now just infiltrating different institutions. They are becoming staffers. A lot of them are becoming photographers. A lot of them are journalists.
So,
a lot of them are videographers.
I think that you're talking about two distinct groups. The ground troops, the ones that are
They're
Antifa,
animals. They're not staffers.
they're not staffers. They're not doing things. They're still significantly homeless.
I think
they're still going to be throwing firebombs. If give them the opportunity, they'll still throw firebombs. They still have face tattoos. They're still the ones that are the real crazies that are, mentally compromised and will do antisocial acts just for the fun of it.
I think a lot of Antifa is a lot more privileged than we like to think so, and a lot of them are joining nonprofits. A lot of them are, trying to rehabilitate their image in different ways, and they're infiltrating, and they're very happy about it behind the scenes when I think they infiltrate.
I don't think that I don't think you're wrong about a segment, but when I think of Antifa, I don't think of the activist types. I think of the ones that are actually the Molotov cocktail throwers, the ones that would look to go fight the police. And whereas there are some, I understand the lawyers in New York that had Molotov cocktails comes to mind. They were essentially given a free pass, but they were two New York lawyers living in Brooklyn. So I understand that they exist, but I think there is a smaller portion that are the smart ones that are, kind of giving direction than the larger portion of the just crazy. I mean, crazies. I mean, if you look,
I think they're at Palestine marches. Frankly, that's where they are.
Yeah, probably. But if you look at the the people that attacked Rittenhouse, the first dude, I forget what his name was, whatever his name was, but he wasn't like
Rosenbaum.
Yeah, Rosenbaum. He wasn't an Antifa, but he was a useful idiot for Antifa, and he was a crazy dude, and he was he'd been arrested, and yeah, he was just bad news. But that's the kind of dude that Antifa will have throw the first rock at the cops, or that will throw the rock through the window, because he's the one that'll do it, and he's got basically nothing going for him anyway. And I think that those guys are more numerous than the actual smart people that are kind of directing them. So that's my take on the Antifa. But I don't think they're going anywhere. I just don't think that they have the same kind of energy that they had in
I'll tell you where they are. They're on BlueSky threatening to kill Jesse Singal. And it's interesting now because if we'll see all the hit pieces from the Washington Post and New York Times. So BlueSky, they have a serious threat problem.
They don't care. They don't care.
Threatening. Yeah. So we'll see if it's held to the same standard that all the other platforms
It won't
are.
be.
So I doubt we'll see the hit pieces on BlueSky. Unless, Tim, if you migrated over, then we might see the more hit pieces
you get
on
kicked
BlueSky.
off. Like I was,
That's funny.
I was on there, and it took I said something actually positive about Taylor Lorenz. I said she was a gift, and she still blocked me.
Well, you didn't get banned though.
No, but I'm sure that if I continue down that road, I will. I was called a racist bigot on the first day that I was on BlueSky. So,
Well, I love that we're winning. So I'm excited for January 20th. There's gonna be a bunch of parties in DC. It's gonna get wild.
You going to be there?
Yes.
Of course. Did I know the answer? I knew the answer.
Well, we live here. It's like
I'll be
There's there
searching.
and there's
skip
here.
and a jump.
I'll be searching
stone's-
for Antifa
stone's
right outside the
throw.
gates. So
Yeah, I wonder. Do you think there's gonna be big protests on the 20th?
yes, definitely. I hope. I feel bad. I have a conflict of
I don't
interest
know.
for my work, but I sure hope so. I couldn't foresee there not being protests. Frankly, DC is such a liberal place.
All right.
and
But,
so are the surrounding
but I
areas.
don't think it's going to be like in 2016.
All it takes is a small group of
27.
agitators to. I remember Trump fans getting assaulted, leaving some of his rallies, or I think it was the inauguration the first time.
Yeah.
So people still believe Trump is a fascist.
Well, there
There's
was
still a segment of crazies.
a deplorable
Yep.
where Trump supporters had that big gala, and Antifa was chucking bricks and rocks at us as we were walking in the building. And the cops were just standing there, and it was crazy. As we're walking on the street with a police line keeping hundreds of psychopathic leftists away, the cops are by the doors, and as we're walking in, they're just debris, they're launching things at us, and the cops didn't do anything about it. And then Gavin McInnes licked the guy's face.
And I also believe there's
actually happened.
There's a women's march 2 days before the inauguration, if I'm not mistaken, in DC.
I can respect it, but I think the issue is what they're saying online is that the Women's March did nothing. They were like, how many, 3 million people showed up in D.C., walked around and left, and literally nothing happened. So I'm concerned that these people are going to be lunatics. I'm concerned they are, and this time they will be angry lunatics.
Yeah, losers.
I think
Losers.
so. Let me suggest though that yes, there's always going to be a percentage, and when you are doing things that are inflammatory, a small percentage will seem like a lot more of a phenomenon than a large percentage. Having said that, it seems to me that the playbook has moved away from the mass violence. And there's probably a tactical reason for it, and it looks like you have an idea as to what it might be.
No, I was going to ask you what you thought it might be.
I was hoping Tim would explain it, actually. No, what I think it might be is it didn't work. At the end of the day, it was disruptive, and that was something. But the left has learned that the right has learned. There are things, for example, January 6th, when I first saw it advertised, the idea popped into my head for a minute to go. Then I said, well, absolutely a trap.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that would be insane. Because I saw what happened to Gavin McInnes. I saw what happened with the Proud Boys. All you have to do is show up.
Yep.
And push back. And you're now the terrorist. So that's not an option. But the right has learned.
Anybody who had been watching my show would have known. So it's a funny thing that happened after January 6th is that I got accused of having foreknowledge that Tim Pool had been informed they were planning to storm the Capitol because I had said in September of 2020 that in November, a bunch of right-wing, if Trump loses, a bunch of right-wing people are going to storm the White House or something. And it was speculation. I was saying these people are pissed, and if Trump doesn't win, these people are going to go to D.C. and storm the White House in November. Well, I was wrong. Nobody stormed the White House in November, but people did storm the Capitol in January. And so then I was accused of having foreknowledge. My opinion on this is just, I think it's fairly obvious when people are angry and planning on protesting. And then you had Trump saying it's going to be a rowdy, it's going to be a big protest, and we're only an hour away. And we were like, should we get a hotel? And we actually we rented a hotel room in advance to do the show live from DC on January 6th. And then as we were getting closer and closer to the date, we were having conversations about security. With the barricades and the plans the city had, we were concerned about being able to actually get down there and do any kind of show with the mass showing was expected. So we said, I don't think we can do it. We should probably just stay here. And then we did. We stayed in Maryland and did the show from a normal location. But that day, doing my morning show, watching the news, it was crazy. As it was unfolding, it was a lot scarier than because you didn't know what was going on, and then someone gets shot.
We have to keep in mind there is again, talking about moving that Overton window, there is now a regime, an expectation of non-enforcement of the law against violent left-wing protest in D.C. So when the Palestinian protesters scaled the White House fences and, were really extremely menacing around the area of the White House, nothing was done. There were I think there were literally no arrests. That is the policy of law enforcement in D.C. So that does still pose a risk.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.